The People's Tribunal is now in session.
May it please your honors. Very good morning. We have before you a list of witnesses. We propose to call 9 witnesses today. Some are rather short, so I think we should be able to make significant progress, hopefully. My first witness is Roland Engan, statutory declaration number 49, and the statutory declaration has been placed before your honors.
Oh, Baram.
Baram, in Baram, huh?
Yeah.
This is one of the interior places in Sarawak, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've been to, where was it, Kampong Piking, which is also in Barang.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Now, you lost in the last elections
Yes.
to a candidate from the ruling coalition Barisan Nasional. Is that correct?
Yes.
You are unhappy with the outcome of the election because of a large number of complaints you had.
Yes.
And you filed an election petition?
Yeah, fine, but
Wait, you filed an election petition?
Yes.
Yes. And what happened to the election petition?
We withdrew 2 days before the hearing of the PO.
You had 2 days because there was going to be a preliminary objection.
Yes.
And you were at that time aware, were you not, that a large number of elections petitions were being knocked off because of preliminary objections?
Yes.
So that's probably one of the reasons why you saw the signs,
Yes.
decided to withdraw.
Yeah.
Yes. And and on the day when the
So we only realized about it when our election agent went to the tele center much later.
yes, this is with regard to the voting on polling day, or was this with regard to postal and advance votes?
Postal and advance vote.
So you're referring to postal and advance votes?
Yes.
So were you allowed to watch over and inspect these advanced and postal vote ballot boxes? That's the first point.
No.
And these advance votes were done before polling day?
Yes.
A few days? Can you remember? If you can't remember, doesn't matter. A
Yeah,
couple
few
of days?
Yeah, a few days before that.
Yes. So the boxes you're not allowed to, but did you make a request to watch over them?
I believe requested by our election agent.
Your election agent?
Yes.
Yes. And then these boxes are moved, they were kept. Where were they kept, do you know?
In the district office.
In the district office?
Yes.
So it's not in the police lockup, huh?
District office. Yeah,
district office. And the district office is just like an ordinary office?
I believe it is.
So now, then on the 5th May, the ballot boxes for advance voters was going to be moved. Were you complained that you were not informed about this?
Yes. We were never informed about when they move it to the tele center.
Yes. And then the boxes were opened. Were you informed when they were going to be opened?
No.
Were your So were you or your agent present when these boxes were opened?
No, because we were not informed about it.
Okay. Now, coming to the following page is not paginated. Coming to the following page, you complained about disenfranchised voters at these kampongs, Kampong Long Item, Long Lilim, and Long Miri, Baram. Now you say here in your paragraph 1 that you were informed that at least 5 voters from Kampong Long Item, 25 voters from Long Lilim, they were waiting in the queue for ballot boxes to be issued at the polling station known as Long Luteng Pata. And you say they were, and a police report was lodged in respect of this
Yes,
denial of the right to vote.
yes,
The police report, there is a series of police reports. When I keep referring to the reports, they are all appended at the back of the statutory declaration.
On point 5, you said that you were informed that the polling station was abruptly closed down because the headman had a glance at the queue. Who informed you this?
our Mr. Billy Now. Mr. Billy Now is from Kampong Long Miri. So the first incident that I just informed Your Honor happened in SK Long Luteng. But the one that Your Honor just asked me happened in
That's
Long Miri.
paragraph 5.
Long Miri.
Yes.
Yes, Long Miri.
Yes, the question is who informed you?
Mr. Billy Now.
The name of the person is Billy
Now.
Now. B-I-L-L-Y. And
Yes.
how do you spell now?
Billy Now. B-I-L-L.
Related to the Barisan National candidate.
Yes,
And he's married to the Barisan National candidate's first cousin, in fact.
yes. I have personal knowledge of that. He's from my kampong.
Oh, he's from your kampong. So
Yes.
you know that for a fact.
Yes,
Yes. And you are saying that with regard to this incident, Billy now lodged a police report.
yes,
And this police report is in Appendix B. So that's the second pink document. Second document after the pink sheet. Now, it's in Bahasa Malaysia. It's the second document, B. Now, on the fourth line of that police report by Billy Ngau, made 3 days after the elections, then he says, Billy Ngau says on the fourth line, saya sebagai, I'll translate as I go along, I as the Ketua Ranting, as the head of the Ranting, the branch, the day, although my name appears on the electoral roll of this particular district, Arapata, and I have a valid identity card. And the reasons are set out in handwriting. So there is a long list of complaints that have been confirmed in
Yes.
support of that allegation.
yes,
Coming back to your statutory declaration, then you talk about what happened on nomination day, which is C, paragraph C.
Yeah.
Nomination day was on 20th April. That the tallying of the votes or official addition of votes would be conducted at Dewan Suara Marudi and commence at 5 p.m. on the polling day. And then you say that it was the tallying was conducted on that particular day. Yes, it was, but without the presence of you or your election and polling and counting agents. Can you see that? See bracket 2?
Yes.
Yes. Sageng now. Just help him with that. Have you got a police report by Sageng now?
Yes.
Yes. And here he says that this is against the federal constitution and concludes by asking the SPR to take action in respect of this. Yes?
Yes.
And there is a series of reports that follow in the Appendix D, several reports with regard to this incident. Yes? Or maybe with regard to this particular incident, it's this particular report. But keeping a finger in this, if you look now at D, look at your statutory, back to your statutory declaration. And now here you say you are informed, D, have you got D?
Yes.
D, on 5th May, I was informed that your polling agents at the following stations, SK Long, Miri Baram, SK stands for what? Sekolah Kebangsaan, is it? The school, is it? SK?
Yes, yes.
And then Linai Baram, Poyot, Juga, Rumah Juga, Sungai Belasoy, SK Long Pila Baram, SK Long G, and Eng Tisam. 8 polling is illegal practice by agent of Barisan National candidate, and this is a day before the election. You are informed that the village headman of Kampong Long G, and the village headman was the polling agent for the Barisan National candidate, and he had instructed one of his village committees, and you name the person, Mr. Engan Lengan, to visit the village, and they gave cash money to individual voters who voted for the Barisan National candidate.
Yes.
And then, sorry?
I was informed that the village headman of Kampong Longje, Mr. Fisher Apoy, I was informed.
You were informed, yes.
Yeah. Not informed by him.
Yes,
Yeah.
you were informed that that this village headman had instructed others to give out, instructed the person named to give out money to those who voted for the Barisan National candidate.
Yes.
But who voted for the Barisan National candidate, because this is on 4th, this is one day before election polling day. So if you look at your next paragraph, you say, I was further informed, overleaf, that individual voters who were certain to vote were given $100, and those not so certain, $50, discount, 50%.
I think the second largest in Malaysia after Bakun.
Another one.
Another one, yes.
And so what is the concern of the people there with regard to the Baram Dam?
They don't want their NCR, their kampungs to be flooded.
Their ancestral land.
Yes.
And
They also,
they've lived there for how long? For 1-2 years?
no, hundreds.
Hundreds of years.
Yes.
So that land is going to be flooded by the Baram Dam.
Yes.
It's a hot issue
Very hot issue.
in that Baram.
Yes.
People are opposed to the dam.
Yes.
And the Barisan National candidates and government is in favor of the dam.
In favor.
Okay. Then you said that your father was given $20 cash,
Yes.
and you say he's kept the $20 as proof until today, is it?
Until today. But unfortunately, he cannot come because he's not that healthy.
You should have brought the $20 note.
Yes.
Is there some way of distinguishing it from other notes which are floating around? I mean, how would we know that this note?
How do you know that that's the $20 that was given?
I trust my father.
I think nowadays we can send for DNA testing. So now, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I have two questions, one for counsel and the other for the witness. With regard to 2A, it says that election agents were not, the polling and election agents were not permitted and denied access. On 2, it says that they were not notified, and on 3, that they were not notified to be present. Could you tell us under what regulations these come, which require the Election Commission to provide access? Could you tell us?
Yeah, this, as we said yesterday, this with regard to advanced voters, there are no regulations with regard to advanced voters. There are only guidelines. And so the guidelines are the ones that we will present and show that these various guidelines were not adhered to. But the important thing is this, that you can't move boxes. We will show, as I said, a case, Abdul Razak Ahmad against the an election petition case, that you cannot move boxes, even on the polling day itself, in any manner which could arouse some suspicion. Boxes, even just taking the ballot boxes on the day of polling, the regulations are very strict. The regulations provide that at the close of the polling station, at the end of the polling day, then they are to be counted in the presence of the persons concerned. And then Form 14 will be issued. And the Form 14 will be signed to say, yes, so-and-so, we opened the box in his presence, and this was signed. And this is in fact. And then these Form 14s are taken to the counting center to be tallied. Now, with regard to advanced voting, they are not opened for counting until 5 days later, which seems to, seems to break the whole basis on which the boxes on polling day itself are so, the regulations provide for it in a very detailed way, that there must be this done in front of them, Form 14 signed, and then they are taken to the polling station, and that also they are allowed to be escorted. So if that is allowed for polling day, then these advanced voters
But I thought we have established that there is no regulations about advanced voters.
actually,
We know that there is for postal voting.
well, actually,
I don't think that's been challenged, and that's no problem.
yeah, yeah. No, she's talking to the
Thank you.
Oh, no, you got it.
I don't think there's a breach of 27B, am I right?
Yeah, no. The question then is, how do you ensure safe custody? That's the point.
Yeah.
Because the mandate is they must be kept in safe custody.
Yes,
And this is of the returning officer
yes.
or arrangements approved by Election Commission. So I suppose the guidelines, to be fair to the Election Commission, would be the arrangements approved by the Election Commission. But the point is that, and I take your point, Your Honor, Dr. Mavis, the point is that there are no specific provisions about ensuring the safe custody from the point of view of the candidate. And the position therefore is that candidates must be allowed to ensure that they are indeed safe. Especially in these kind of situations, for example here, where you have, you know, relatives of the opposing candidate who are closing, you know, stations after of custody of ballot boxes is very, very important, right? And therefore there must be, and when you talk about safe custody, it must also be from the point of view of the voter and from the point of view of the candidate. That's the point we are making. So if there are, if as we heard yesterday, where there is an attempt made even to provide their own mechanism or their own persons for purposes of guarding the box, then there must be some kind of arrangement allowed. Maybe it's a restricted place, you cannot sit there throughout, but there must be some provision for safe custody, because there is no excuse for a 5-day custody of ballot boxes which are going to determine the fate of which government is going to be elected.
I agree with you. I'm only making a distinction that we should really separate what is legal and what is not legal, that is within the regulations and outside the regulations, and what is not considered best practice, you know.
Yes.
That, from a reasonable point of view.
Yes.
I think we need to take both into considerations, but we need to make that distinction. That's all I'm saying.
I agree entirely that that is an important distinction to make. And what we would be submitting is that we have to provide for situations where manipulation can arise, especially with regard to advance voting, where, as I indicated yesterday, advance voting would have changed the government. So in this critical area must be beyond question, because they are going to determine the government of the day. The process must be pristine as far as possible. So although the regulations did not provide the fact that he cannot, for example, take a long route, we showed he took a very long route, and the fact that maybe he had to stop at his house for whatever reason. But they said, no, the ballot box is something that is almost sacred. And so although the regulation, the point that I'm making is, although the regulations did not say that this was wrong, the court looked into it and said, no, it arouses suspicion in the mind of the ordinary person, and that must be beyond question. You see, the disquiet that happens after that is when people are unhappy. So although regulations are made, but the regulations themselves do not guarantee some element of that will not arouse reasonable suspicion. That is the point. So you see, the police are partisan. We have seen from Dr. Toh's issue. I'm not saying all police are partisan. I withdraw that statement. What I'm saying is that their conduct in our context has been subject to question. So I would say that most of our police, of course, are doing a splendid job. But there are the black sheep. There are situations, and all it requires is, because how can you make this kind of allegation? So at the very least, they must come and make an explanation. They refuse even to come for People's Tribunal. They make accusations in public, which simply doesn't make sense. They said that they have been advised by the Attorney General that because petitions are still pending, but there are a large number of petitions which are no longer pending.
Yeah, what I would like the Election Commission to explain is the second page, where he says that the polling officer was related to one of the candidates.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be nice if the Election Commission could tell us on what basis does he appoint a polling agent who is related to one of the candidates and expect the elections to be free and fair.
That's right, yes. I think that is that's an important question.
No police report has been made regarding that, saying that the Election Commission is biased. Am I right? No police report was made with regard to that.
No.
Thank you.
But I think the facts speak for themselves, you see, because, and the point is, you know, in these kampongs, I do a lot of work in the university with regard to indigenous people, and I've been to Baram and, you know, the long houses. Everybody knows everybody else. And then when I was in one kampong, everybody knew I had arrived. They didn't know my name, but they said this, this
Troublemaker.
bald man has come from somewhere and he's walking all over the place. Sorry.
Okay, may I just ask about some of these exhibits and the petition, election petition? Yeah? I went through the annexes, the exhibits, right? The annexes. I just want to look at Appendix C of the statutory declaration. Appendix C seems to contain standard letters or reports by the individuals, I suppose, who were denied or disenfranchised
Yes.
on that day because of the closure, early closure or uninformed closure of the polling stations.
Yes.
So I looked at the first one and I see, yes, it's correct. There is pusat undi ditutup tanpa mengambil kira. This is in respect of Ayub Pulang. But subsequently, I noticed that there are a number of sebab-sebab or reasons. And about 5 reasons are set out there
Yes.
in the others. Ro'aha, from Ro'aha onwards. So what are they intended to indicate? Sebab-sebab masa tidak mencukupi, one, first,
In their electoral roll, and also their names are also transferred to other polling stations.
so these reasons that are set out there, written down, sebab-sebab, because a number, I think a majority of them have 5 reasons set out there. Masa tidak mencukupi, number 1, that means the time is not enough. And secondly, the name is not on the electoral rolls. So you mean to say that the ketua mengundi told them that these are the various reasons
Yes.
that they are not allowed to vote?
Yes, yes,
So it wasn't just that they had stopped the time or closed the polling station?
yes.
Okay, okay. And were these written by the election, the KTM or the election commission officers or what?
No, they wrote it themselves.
Who?
The
person's name there?
the person's name.
But there's a tanda tangan, there's a print, you know,
Say for example,
thumbprint.
yeah, I mean, so they wrote themselves there, is it?
Are you sure they wrote
Sebab-
themselves? Because all in one writing and
They wrote themselves. Some
to the fact that the last 5,
Mm.
which refers to these people
So they are
concerned.
different from one page to another.
No, they have 5 reasons, and all of them have these 5
Standard reasons.
Standard
Same
reasons.
reason, yes.
Yeah.
And they sort of cover a wide range. But the
Yes.
last 5 is about the fact that the center was the last 5 in that collective documentation. Says, pusat undi ditutup tanpa mengambil kira pengundi yang masih berbaris menunggu giliran. That there are people who are waiting in the queue, but that the station was closed without taking account of the fact that there are people waiting to queuing up to vote.
So they actually were queuing,
Yes,
had queued when the doors were closed.
Close.
yes.
And then I suppose it could be told any of these reasons. No, I just asked this because I just want to establish that they are not sort of put together, yeah, for our purposes, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, and I suppose you can't put this together in just a few days soon after, or for this tribunal.
Oh, yes, of course
That's
not.
the main thing.
Yes.
Okay, can I just refer then to the petition that he filed? Of course, he didn't advert to it in his statutory declaration, but I'm glad he has come to tell us about it. And
Yes, this, I mean, this, it differs from judge to judge, but one of the points is that and is filed by Messrs. Barubian. I think, what is the objection taken that it cannot be filed by the solicitor, is it?
No, I was advised by Mr. Barubian that the objection was, I think the strong objection from the respondents was on the issue of number of petition, number of copies of the petition in court's file.
Oh, you mean there were too many or too few or none or what?
Less than the required.
Well, the court file normally, as far as I know, normally just requires one. I'm
Yes,
not
so
sure that
what,
there
what,
would be
what was the,
what?
Yeah,
That was what your lawyer said,
yes.
and that would be a technical objection that would have caused the petition to be dismissed.
well,
Therefore-
I think the signal was very clear that all kinds of
Okay, yeah.
reasons, yeah. So I don't know exactly what the reasons were. We will,
No, because I think if we want to make some findings about what happens to election petitions in general, and in these cases in particular, we want to be very clear
Yes.
about it.
The
And
candidates and the
Commission
election commission officer.
both said that it must be addressed,
Yes,
including the election commission.
yes,
That was from the Attorney General's chambers.
yes,
And then the cost awarded was 15,000 to the first respondent, that's the candidate, and you said 10,000 to the election commission.
yes. After much argument.
Much argument.
Yes.
And what was your lawyer's argument against?
No, we offered the deposit of 10,000 to be shared by both respondents. But the first respondent's lawyer,
What 10,000? What
there's a deposit
Deposit.
paid when you file the petition. There's a deposit paid, right?
yes,
Yeah.
10,000.
10,000.
Okay, so that's already upfront 10,000.
yes, but the first respondent's lawyers requested for 100,000,
Oh,
100,000.
100,000.
Yes, the election
Commission
commission 50,000.
wanted 50,000.
Yes,
So the court was very charitable to you
yes,
and ordered only 15 and 10.
yes. I still remember the judge made a comment on that day that we are here to make sure there's a legitimate representative from the Baram constituency, and secondly, we are here not to impose any punitive cause against the petitioner.
Of the preliminary objection, the kind of preliminary objections.
Yes.
So we will give as much as we can by contacting the lawyers. We're in the process of contacting, but have not been able to do that. And
So, sorry, so in addition then to the 10,000 that had been deposited, which then goes to the election commission, you had to pay 15,000 more,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
right? And you say you are very happy, and the judge says this is actually not punitive at all, and because they're asking for 100,000.
Yes.
So if they had asked for 200,000, 30,000 would be quite good for you right there. Would you say that?
No, we have to see the workload. We have to see the work that has been done by the opponents'
Yes.
solicitors.
And they said they had a lot of work to do?
Yes, and there were affidavits filed and written submissions. I think come to about almost 200 pages.
Who filed that?
The opponent's lawyer.
They filed that?
Yeah, written submissions on the preliminary objection.
Okay. I thought it was just your petition there, and then of course your affidavit. I'm not sure. You said the 200 pages of affidavit by, and what about the election committee? So that's it then. So in spite of withdrawing, you still had damage costs awarded against you of 25,000 in total.
Yes.
And the judge said that this, in fact, was you must not punish and allow election petitions to be brought forward.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe
what?
we can also get a copy of the judge's notes, or, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll endeavor to do that.
Probably we can ask the
Lawyer.
solicitor lawyer.
He might have recorded the.
Right.
We'll try and do it. Perhaps even before the court rises today, the
Okay.
tribunal rises today.
Thank you.
And what was, you lost by,
194 votes.
he lost
Very
by
narrow.
194 votes only.
So what were the votes on each side? What's the magnitude of the?
What's the total votes? Can you remember? How much did the other side get? What's the number of,
9,000.
I think it's in the
088.
petition.
yes, it is.
Is it?
Yeah, if
Yes.
I may look at it, I refer to it. I didn't want to refer to it because we are not concerned whether you won or lost and by how many. Because we had heard earlier that if you win by 15,000, then it doesn't matter. But if you lose, in this case, you lost by.
Declaration under B5. I was informed that the polling station was abruptly closed down after the hitman who acted as a polling agent for the Barisan National candidate had a glance at the queue. And as I said, in this kampong, they all know everybody else.
Yes. That happened in Long Miri.
Yes,
Long Miri.
in this particular place, Long Miri. So just while we are on this point, maybe in fairness to maybe the courts, they are not really affected party, but just a comment by the ex-chief, the head of the judiciary, Chief Justice. So he's saying here, former Chief Justice Tun Zaki, Tun Azmi did not think the costs awarded in election petition recently were too high. And even if they were, that means even if they were high, he surmised they will be to prevent abuse of the courts. If the costs awarded were low, people would abuse and file election petitions or any case for that matter without good grounds, he said in an interview with Bernama in a response to a question. And then he said, I think until today, or this is very interesting, you see, I think until today, or even just before I retired, where manifest investigation, the
I
allegations.
thought the interesting thing here was that the dismissal of election petitions on technical grounds because election rules are strict. How do you know election rules are strict and have been strictly applied if you do not look at the merits of the application?
Precisely.
Here we are talking about striking out on technical grounds, as I understand it, of the petition itself,
Yes,
not the substance of the petition.
that's right.
I can understand if the striking out or the dismissal is after the election rules have not been complied with or complied with,
Yes,
but you have not looked at it, as I understand it. So
That's-
I'm not sure what this is all about.
yes. We will provide the details as to the nature of the objections which
Yes.
were
That's
being
why I
upheld
keep
throughout the
asking.
country, yes. And the other point that we want to make is that we will also present, since I'm obliged also to present a whole range of views, and one other document that I've got hold of is where is it? It's another document where where is it? Mr. Xiao, if you look at that document on your second page, this is your signature.
Yes.
So for the record, this is the statutory declaration of this witness, Xiao Chun Fat.
Yeah.
You are from Johor Bahru.
Yes.
Now, you say here in your paragraph, you can look at your document. Huh? You say here in your paragraph 1 that you are a volunteer pachaba for the opposition component party in the last elections. And they were a polling agent, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah.
Polling and counting agent.
Polling agent.
Polling agent. And you cast your vote. After that, you went to a particular polling station in Kebangsaan, Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Taman Daya. On 5th May, this house on the right or left that you are talking about?
Right.
On the right. Can you show us what made you think that this was a house relating to the Barisan Nasional?
There's a flag.
There's a flag.
Yeah.
More than one flag, huh?
1, 2. Yeah.
2 flags, huh? Right. Okay. And then all these people are queuing up. You say about 30 people queuing up. One of them has got some kind of a document in his hand.
Huh.
And you say they are queuing up to collect money. We'll come to that in a while. Now, what is at page 5, the following page? What is this?
Huh? Sorry.
Page 5, next page.
This one.
Yes.
They are queuing.
Oh, so this is the queue, huh? It's quite a long queue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then page 6, what is this?
Page 6.
The
In
following
front
page.
the houses door.
So this is in front of that house.
Yeah. And then the Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Taman Daya 2 is in front. At the behind, near this shutter.
Behind there.
Yeah,
You
behind
can
there.
see some buses there.
Buses are bus sekolah.
So these
This
are
is-
bus sekolah in front of that polling station.
This is one of the
Before we start showing it,
chatting, and then after that the mail, they try to fill in some the information, and then after that they give the money.
they give money.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw people being handed money. Now, who took this video?
Huh?
Who took this video?
Me.
You took the video. Huh?
I took the video.
You're quite brave. You just went there and start taking video.
Huh? Sorry?
You're so brave. Just go there and start taking video, is it? Or you secretly take or what?
I take very openly.
Very openly. Oh, okay. Okay. And then, so we'll have a look at the video very briefly. That's
So this is the office of the Barisan Nasional, or?
It's not an office, it's a house bearing the Barisan National flag and a booth that,
Yes.
yes. Close to the polling station, yes.
This is not the polling booth.
No, no, it's not the polling booth. This is, they have already voted.
Yes,
That's right, yes. Okay.
Where not? Huh? Dog. Yeah.
There's the signing, and then the money is given, and the money is taken, and then that's it.
This is next to the police station?
No, no, not police station.
Maybe the policeman is standing outside to
Yeah, waiting his turn.
make sure order in the queue.
Okay, I think that
That's it, yes.
that explains it. Right, and then you lodged a police report. You lodged a police report, huh?
Yeah.
Any action taken by the police? Technical people
okay.
then did this, so he didn't have that
Okay,
facility.
why don't, maybe you give him one and,
Maybe you can, we can send this
yeah. to the
video
police.
now, you know.
Yeah,
Are you confident the police will take action?
we'll see.
Otherwise he will lose his, try and buy this video from Bukit Bintang there, it only costs about 60 cents. I think you can afford to waste that, even if they don't take action. So I have no further questions.
I have.
Oh, sorry.
Would it be right to say that most of the people who are standing in queue are Malays? Or was there Chinese and Indian also when you were there?
Malay, mostly Malay.
So which may mean that they are UMNO members?
Oh, actually I don't
You
know.
don't know.
How are you so sure that this money was not given to cover election expenses for voting and it was a bribe rather than to cover election expenses? How are you so sure that?
Sorry, pardon?
In what way are you so sure that the money that was given was not to cover election expenses and was not a bribe to vote in a particular way?
Actually, I think you.
So Mr. Xiao, thank you very much for your testimony.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The next witness is SD 43, Mr. Ramakrishnan.
Mr. Ramakrishnan, do you confirm your testimony to the tribunal today shall be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Rama,
Yes.
the third page, is not paginated. I don't know why all this ST is not paginated, but page 3 or the third page.
Yeah, can
Oh,
I
you don't have anything. Always give one.
Thank you. Page 3.
This is your signature, page 3.
Page 3,
That's the third page. It is not paginated.
yes, it's
Yes.
my signature, yes.
So this is your statutory declaration. Mr. Ramakrishnan Analalaki Supaya. That's against you and your party.
Distributed to the voters.
It's distributed to the voters.
Yeah.
And this was in the form of a booklet.
Booklet, yeah.
So let's look at the booklet. You have exhibited the booklet and you've explained it.
Yeah.
And if you could, your honors could look at this is the only exhibit, a large exhibit. It says here, GAP racist. Now, the first thing is that it's, you note that the author nor the publisher is
Yeah.
shown on this booklet.
No. It is
This is against the law, is it not?
not. Yes.
And essentially, this is to suggest how the Malays would be
Yeah.
oppressed, suppressed by the DAP if it was elected.
Yeah. Yeah. These materials were found in the Malay houses and Malay kampongs.
Malay houses, Malay kampong.
Yeah.
And what percentage of Malay voters can you recall in your
Uh,
constituency?
36%.
36%.
Yeah.
That's a high percentage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I will. Yes. Yes.
So there's fair amount in Malay, I think, so
Yes. So if we look at the second page of the sweep away the Malays. And Melayu Sakai, there is indigenous community, but this is not what is intended. It is like these people are, backward, uncivilized. Then Melayu Masuk Utan means, that they must be sent into the jungles, right? They are uncivilized. And they go back to their kampungs and go back and plant jagung. That means corn, but this is a derogatory term to say that you go back and that's what you're worth for, to go and plant some kind of corn or stuff like that. Then the next one is very inflammatory, because it says DAP mencetus 13 Mei. 13 Mei was an ethnic strife which ended in a bloodbath, and many people were killed. It was between the Malays and Chinese. It is a blot in our ethnic relations. And it's a tragedy of major proportions. And it shows here, DAP mencetus 13 Mei, tragedy 13 Mei. And then the photographs are very interesting, because on the left-hand side photograph shows all the dead bodies. On the right-hand side, there is someone who's being restrained, and the photograph is doctored, obviously, to show the face of the opposition leader in the DAP, in this particular party itself, the man, the face. The PAP came in to the country, and then the PAP was the party of Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, and then they were sent out of Malaysia, and then they became the DAP. So logo mereka sama, their logo is the same. Kit Siang adalah bekas setiausaha Lee Kuan Yew. He was the former political secretary of Lee Kuan Yew. I must point out, in all fairness, that this is correct, that he was indeed the secretary of Lee Kuan Yew. Then pada tahun 1965, akibat sentimen perkauman yang dimainkan oleh PAP telah menyebabkan, so it was because of the ethnic or racial sentiment practiced by the PAP at that time that caused the PAP to be thrown out of Malaysia. PAP telah menubuhkan cawangannya di Malaysia, iaitu DAP, and they set up the DAP in 1966, and they are actually a proxy to carry out the political strategies to separate, to break up the Malay penguasaan, means Malay power, Malay authority di Malaysia, dan memperluas pengaruh, and to increase the influence, if you like, of Lee Kuan Yew. Now, just a small comment in Malaysia. If Indians disappear from Malaysia, they can still go to New Delhi. Chinese can go to Beijing. But if hilang Melayu di Malaysia, but if you remove Malays from Malaysia, then there will be no more Malays in the world. And then they show Kit Siang, and then they show some leaders on the right-hand side, not very clear. And then DAP Cabar Islam. Then they are saying, they quote one of the leaders, Karpal Singh, mahu wujudkan negara Islam langkah mayat kami dulu. If you want to create an Islamic nation, it will be over my dead body. And Karpal Singh says that. Again, I'm obliged to point out that this was in fact said. So what is being suggested here is that the DAP is challenging Islam, and people must be aware, aren't the Muslims aware? Do not pawn your religion. Then DAP boycott PAS, penipu rakyat, because Lim Kit Siang doesn't want PAS to become MB, and they boycotted the appointment in which I think election campaigns can legitimately be carried out, although you may not agree with the content, you see. But there are highly inflammatory statements, especially with regard to May 13th and the fact that you want to dispose of all Malays and all this.
But since no one has acknowledged that they printed or published this document, can we assume that that BN is responsible for it?
Well, BN benefits from it.
Yes, but I don't know whether they acknowledge that this came from them.
Yes, did they acknowledge it came from them?
Well, I don't think so, but I remember,
But I'm not sure that we're really concerned about whether it came from the Barisan or it came from the PKR. I think we are concerned that there are these seditious or, racist pamphlets that are made available to voters during the election campaign. And as I understand it, you say that these are found in houses.
Malay kampongs and Malay
kampongs
houses.
and other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
but
would have been helpful would be a real copy of the.
Yes, we can give a
You
copy.
have, okay, I mean, just as an exhibit,
Yes.
but I'm not sure that we are interested whether the BN produced this or the candidate in Labes produced this.
Yeah. Because-
but I do think that we have to point out that this is an offense under
Yes. Yes, this is all we wish to secure from this witness, and if there are no other questions, perhaps he can be released. Mr. Rama, thank you very much. You can continue your journey.
Thank you, sir.
There's a second attachment.
Is it?
There's another exhibit. Is a continuation of that. Towards the very end of the
Yeah.
bundle.
Yes, but I did not refer to it because I thought this is fair comment, because they're trying to show why BN should be, why they should support BN and not support the other side. And they made some comments, but I don't know whether they
So
are.
this is not part of the SD then?
It is part of the SD. It's just that I did not highlight this, and I can refer to it in a slightly different context. But some of them, like they say, that we have fulfilled, and the opposition has said their manifesto is not a promise. So they're just playing on, election, because you don't register. You yourself are in charge of registration. Your department does not register, and then later you say, look at this party. They can't even agree on a common logo. They're not even registered as one single coalition. So that's the only point that I suppose can be made of that particular document, which we will follow up with another witness. The next witness is Amani William Hunt. Yes. And this is number 22. 22, yes. Statutory Declaration 22.
Mr. Amani, do you confirm that your testimony to the tribunal today shall be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Amani Williams, you look at page 2 of the document placed before you. Is that your signature?
Yes, that's correct.
So this is your statutory declaration, huh?
Yes, that's correct.
For the record, the name is Amani Williams Hunt Abdullah. Now, you say here in your paragraph 2, you can refer to your statutory declaration, Mr. Amani. You are a
Opposition party members are not allowed to come into the village to conduct any election campaign, and they said that you have to go away, So I told them,
But just before that, Mr. Amani, who is this Rela? Who are Rela?
RELA members, I don't know the English translation, and they are something like volunteer corps, They are orang asli themselves, Yeah.
And they are part of a government agency?
I think so, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Under the, this is a part of a government agency under the Ministry of Home Affairs. They are, as expressed here, a volunteer corps, like security, they provide security and so on, under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Yes, continue, then?
Yeah, then I tried to reason out with them. I said, this is campaign time, you know, any opposition party members, you know, can come in and hold their campaign. They say, no, you cannot come in. I say, what's the reason? Whose instruction, you know, to stop me from coming in? They say, well, someone higher up there. When I asked, who is this higher up there? They didn't say anything, they just say higher up there. And I kept insisting, you know, I say, this is against the rule, you know, against the law. And I explained, being a lawyer, I say, I know the rules, you know. So I insisted, you know, and then they said, no, it came from the instruction of someone higher up.
Team set up under the Election Offences Act.
Yes, I did, yeah.
I presume this team is created specially for this purpose, to allow candidates to canvass and to campaign.
Yes.
Were you able to contact anybody in that team?
No, unfortunately, I didn't, yeah.
You didn't take any further action? You
No, I
didn't try
didn't.
to contact the Elections Commission or anyone in the team?
No, because I thought it was already quite late. You see, it was on the 4th, the last day of election, of campaigning. And we had to move to other villages, you know, to, you know, make the most of what was available, you know, what was possible, you know, yeah.
Thank you.
Were you stopped from going into other villages?
This particular village only.
Only
This particular village. Other villages, I mean,
Nobody was there to...
nobody was there to stop us, but of course, the reception, I mean, they gave us cold shoulder reception, and many of them ran away when they saw us, of course, you know. And what I want to say here is the head men of the Orang Asli villages, you know, were actually used, you know, to frighten off the people, to intimidate the Orang Asli, and you know,
We've heard of that, yeah, so I think
Yeah.
we've heard of, but we want to know your personal experience as a candidate, and why therefore was this
Which is the people to volunteer and be a member to preserve and maintain the national peace and security. So I suppose they were keeping the peace and security by preventing you in, Mr. Amani. We have no further questions. Mr. Amani, thank you very much for attending.
welcome. Thank you, Council. Thank you, judges.
Who's the next one? Why didn't we deal with Fadli or Rizwan? Or Rizwan? Rizwan, is Mr. Rizwan here? Oh, Rizwan. I think we can deal with Rizwan. Make sure they got a copy there. 68. You got it? Rizwan, yeah. Oh. So that the record shows affirmed.
He's here.
But he's here in person, yes. Now, you are a registered voter in the State Assembly constituency of Lubuk Merbau, Perak,
Yes, yes,
and you voted on election day.
yes.
And the person who contested the State Assembly seat was one Haji Muhammad Zainuddin bin Muhammad Yusof.
Yeah, yes.
And he's from Parti Islam se-Malaysia, known as PAS. PAS
Yes.
political party, yeah? And the Barisan National candidate is Siti Salma.
Yes.
And the winner was Siti Salma.
Yeah, yes.
and by 53 votes.
Yes.
Very narrow, huh? Now, you were a member of the campaign enforcement team, huh? This is the one that was referred
penguat kuasa.
Pasukan Penguat Kuasa. This is what was referred to by Your Honor, Dr. Mavis Puthucheary. And your duties as enforcement team are spelled out in the Act. You are aware of that. And for
on the basis of technicality, which is
it's there in the paragraph 4.
Tidak mematuhi kaedah petition pilihan raya perkara 9 dan dibaca bersama dengan perkara 34, kaedah 34. Law of Election of an Act 1954.
because it doesn't, in accordance with Rules 9 of the Election Offences Act, which is read together with Regulation 30. Thirty-four.
And you, in fact, state in your one technicality, the technicality you have stated here is that the petition was filed in the name of a firm of solicitors instead of the name of your counsel. So you cannot file it in the name of firm of solicitors. You have to file it in the name of counsel. That is the ground. Just read that last line to him. But that is at page 64.
Advocate by petitioner, Rule 9.
Yes.
Attached
That, what
petition.
pages are you looking
That's
at?
page 78.
Yes.
And it says there what the petitioner or petitioner shall leave at the office and then authorize an advocate to act for him. And 34 really is all about who may present a petition. So I'm not sure that anyway,
Yes.
so since we have heard one technical grounds that has been mentioned,
Yes.
maybe we can have some submission on your view of this interpretation of Rule 9 and in read with Article 34.
Yes. In fact, we will give our views on also other grounds on which the petition was struck out.
Okay.
That's what I requested earlier.
Yes, we will be submitting on that. We'll be making submissions on that.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Now, you say in your paragraph 5 that the complaint you raised in your election petition was that in Boya Village Community Hall, there was money given to persuade 2 people to vote for the opposition. And you were informed of this via telephone after the close of polling by $50 to $100 in return for votes. Yes?
Yes.
And then you say, I was further informed by a child of one of the JKK chairmen. He won't be too happy about that, isn't it? Further informed by a child that the JKK chairman were promised vacation to Langkawi, Melaka and Terengganu should the Barisan Nasional candidate win.
Yes.
Do you know whether they went to any of this Langkawi and all this? Do you know? Ada dalam pengetahuan bahawa dia orang telah
Saya mendapat maklumat daripada ahli Barisan Nasional sendiri.
dia orang ada pergi tak?
Dia orang dah pergi.
Pergi ya. Berapa lama dia singgah sana? Tak apa dulu. Okay.
They did went to the vacation. He
Yeah.
got the info from the Barisan Nasional
For the
members,
vacation,
They did.
They did.
They did go for those vacations in these exotic places. Okay. Another matter that you complain about, you say, is that the ketua tempat mengundi, the KTM, at a particular school you have mentioned here, he did not allow a polling agent to be present during the voting from 10 a.m. to 12 noon in stream 1 at Sekolah Kebangsaan. He prevented him from entering.
Bagi menyelesaikan masalah ini.
Okay, and the reason, you have given the reason, you did not accept the reason. They said that there was already the person there, but that was for the parliamentary seat, not for your state seat. The reason they gave for excluding was that there was already a polling agent from the opposition. The reason why you did not accept that reason is because you are saying here in your paragraph 8 that that person was there for the parliamentary seat and not for the state seat for which you wanted to enter. Is that correct?
Adakah benar yang Encik tidak berpuas hati dengan keputusan itu kerana calon yang polling agent diletakkan di dalam kawasan tersebut adalah dari Parti Keadilan Rakyat, iaitu untuk kerusi parlimen dan bukannya agent dari untuk DUN?
Yes. Sepatutnya calon daripada DUN ada seorang polling agent.
Yes, because it should be one polling agent for the State Assembly seat inside the polling center.
And this place, you said, this particular polling station, Tanah Merah, had the highest number of voters amongst the voting district in Lubuk Merah. He announced that 700 ballot papers were issued in that stream. So there were 101 ballot papers not accounted for.
Dalam perenggan 12, Encik mengatakan bahawa terdapat 599 kertas undi di mana 5 kertas itu rosak dan menyebabkan 599 undi itu valid. Tapi presiding officer itu memaklumkan bahawa terdapat 700 kertas undi yang diisukan di saluran tersebut. Jadi maknanya terdapat 101 kertas undi yang tidak dikira.
Yes. Masa tersebut saya dapat makluman daripada pacar yang polling agent yang bertugas dan counting agent yang bertugas yang mengatakan jumlah kertas undi yang dikeluarkan 700. Jumlah di dalam kertas undi 599. Undi rosak 5. Undi yang tak dimasukkan ke dalam kertas ke dalam kotak undi 101. Jadi persoalannya yang di situ adalah ke mana kertas undi 101 tu kita nak tahu di mana 101 tu kertas undi kenapa tak dimasukkan ke dalam peti undi dan ke mana? Boleh?
Kan.
So can you undertake to provide it to us and we will provide it to the panel?
Boleh tak Encik janji pada ini untuk membawa borang 14 ke tribunal?
Boleh.
Okay. And also Form 13, because Form 13 shows how many were issued.
Dan juga borang 13, boleh Encik dapatkan?
Boleh dapat.
You can get Form 13?
13 no 14.
Okay, so you don't have Form 13?
No.
Form 13, I think, is put in the envelope and put in the ballot box.
Yes, but then
They don't get a copy.
they don't get, but if they request for it, they are
They are supposed to initial on it.
that's
it,
right.
as I
But
understand.
actually,
Don't get a copy?
They don't get, as I understand it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But,
no.
Council, maybe we can have his actual election petition,
yes.
and the exhibits are there, as I
Yes.
understand it, yeah.
Election petition though, can you ask him whether he can supply us also the election petition?
Boleh tak Encik memberi tribunal ini election petition pilihan raya Encik?
No, you can supply, no, maybe you have to make copies, you see. You can supply, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, you got a copy here? Oh, you didn't give it to our lawyers? Never mind. So we'll make copies of this.
Kawasan Perak yang majoriti.
kedudukan adun kedudukan dun kedudukan dun
Don't saja.
Pakatan Rakyat 38 Barisan Nasional Pakatan Rakyat 30 semua 69. Kelebihan pada Barisan Nasional 3 undi. 3 dun.
Yeah, three seats it was.
69.
Pakatan dapat berapa? 38.
30
They won by, tak apa. They menang dengan 3 seat majority lah.
majority 3 dun.
Yes. So they seats they had they won by 3 seats to form the state government.
28 Pakatan Rakyat, 31
Yes.
BN.
So it was 28-31. Yes. I have no further questions for this witness.
As you are the only witness so far who has been a member of this enforcement team,
We'll see. Yes.
I just wonder whether you would help us by telling us a little bit about this enforcement team. And you were presumably the representative of PAS on that enforcement team. Could you tell us about the functions of this enforcement team and how
Ada Akta Kesalahan Pilihan Raya 1954 yang mana
I think maybe because the functions are set out in 27E, but maybe the second part of the question is important. Sama ada berkesan atau tidak? Macam mana dia? Ask him how effective is it?
Berkesan atau tidak pasukan penguatkuasa ini?
berkesan macam mana maksudnya? Berkesan dalam pengaruhi pengundian ataupun macam mana?
Berkesan in what?
No, I mean, is it effective to enforce, carry out the function? Is it effective or not?
Berkesan tak dalam melaksanakan tugas.
Yes. Sebab I kata berkesan sebab dalam penguasa ni dia ada wakil setiap parti politik. Mana daripada PAS satu, daripada Barisan Nasional satu, daripada Pakatan Parti Keadilan Rakyat satu diganti oleh pegawai polis yang berpangkat inspektor ke atas, seorang lagi penguatkuasa majlis pembandaran. Jadi memang efektif sebab kita apa-apa masalah akan dibincangkan secara bersama.
It's effective in carrying out their duties because they have representative from each of the political parties, the police officers and also from the majlis pembandaran.
Okey. Pada masa hari pengundian, pasukan penguatkuasa bertugas di setiap DUN, akan berjalan di setiap DUN. Jadi pada masa itu saya tak mendapat maklumat mengatakan terdapatnya politik wang dibayar pada pengundi. Saya mendapat maklumat selepas tutup pukul 5, baru maklumat saya dah dapat mengatakan pihak Barisan Nasional membeli undi.
When he was on duty on the polling day, all this enforcement team were on duties at all the DUNs, the DUNs that carry out the polling. But then during the on duties on that day, he didn't receive any complaint on this money politics. He only knew about this after the polling ends on that day.
Close
So
the polling.
did he then call a conference with his other and said that this is what he has heard? I mean,
Yes.
on that evening itself?
So did you put that question that His Honour is...
Adakah Encik memanggil satu perbincangan selepas hari pengundian tersebut?
Mendengar after listening to all this complaints about monies being distributed, did he call for a meeting with the enforcement team?
Selepas
After the close of polling, he heard about monies being paid out. So
did not solve that problem.
Macam mana dengan aduan Cik yang Cik mengatakan bahawa terdapat seseorang yang tidak dibenarkan masuk menjadi polling agent? Apa yang Cik lakukan terhadap aduan tersebut sebab ia masih lagi berlaku dalam tempoh pengundian?
Apabila terdapat aduan, saya maklumkan kepada calon
No,
Saya
no, how come
maklum.
the enforcement team did not act on that point?
Mengapa pasukan pengawasan ini tidak mengambil tindakan terhadap aduan tersebut?
Pada masa tersebut banyak kes yang berlaku. Jadi ada kes dalam keadaan yang sama. Dalam keadaan yang sama ada juga kes yang berlaku di tempat lain. Contohnya semasa kejayaan lebih kurang pukul 10 ke pukul 12, kami juga mendapat aduan berlakunya pergaduhan. Jadi untuk menyelesaikan kes tersebut, saya terpaksa rujuk kepada calon parti saya.
Because at the same time, there's also some other cases happening at the same time. For example, there's been reported there's a quarrel at some other places, so the enforcement team cannot take any action. So what he did, he informed it to the candidate himself.
So I tambah sikit untuk pasukan semua saya dapat bagi tahu pada calon saja. Tapi untuk kami dalam pasukan kempen untuk membuat satu keputusan yang melibatkan politik wang, kita tak ada kuasa untuk dibagi tugas sedemikian.
Money politics is not under the campaign. It's not under the campaign, so he did not have the power. The enforcement team did not have the power to monitor the money politics. This team is only set up to help to assist the campaign period for each party politics, not the money politics. What he can do, he can only make complaints to the candidate.
I think this is because here it says to monitor the activities of the candidate. So if their candidate actually gives money, actually is within their power. But I mean, this is the problem. The enforcement team is something that's almost a dead letter in all the constituencies. The only one who's brought up this point. He came up in